You're listening to Mind, Body, Home with your host, Sarah Ann. Friends, I am back. My apologies for missing last week. I have been prioritizing some other things, and unfortunately, last week's episode just didn't make the cut. So, my deepest apologies. However, as I mentioned, I've been in the creative zone and I've actually been working on quite a few different things for you, specifically my Mind, Body, Home community. And recently, I was inspired by my last episode on overwhelm. And in that episode, I talked about how overwhelm is the pandemic that nobody's really talking about. And so I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that episode because the messages and the comments about it, I can tell, really clicked for some people and in a way that people are just like, I feel seen. So whether, you're a woman, you're a mom, you're an entrepreneur, the biggest thing I hear is I can't seem to find the time to manage my work, my life, my home. It's just all too much. It's too many things moving at once, and I don't know where to start. I don't know what to offload. I don't know how to end this cycle of chaos. So I truly believe that overwhelm is so prevalent, especially with us women. And so, as I said, I've been in the creative zone and I wanted to expand on this. So, I created the Work Life Home Guide to Balance. And this guide is meant to just bring some insight and awareness to what is actually going on in your life that's creating these stressors, that is creating the chaos. Because I know that when we feel at peace, when our home feels like it's in some sort of order, we can then move through our life with more joy and ease and flow and all of those yummy things, right? I mean, that's really the whole intention of Mind, Body, Home is to give you the tools and the resources to help you create energy in your space and in your life. So if ease is something that you are seeking more of, or if the word overwhelm is like a resounding yes, that's exactly what I feel is overwhelmed, then treat yourself and grab a copy of the Work Life Home Guide to Balance. In it, you'll learn my 3-phase approach to Mind, Body, Home. And again, how to identify hidden stressors in your home. There are actionable steps, daily alignment rituals, and I've also included a bonus 30 ways to end distractions and what to do instead. This guide is my personal sacred practice that I've put into place over the years. And I can tell you, for me, things are good. I mean, I'm busy, yeah, but I'm busy in a way that I don't feel overwhelmed. My creativity is on fire. My relationships with my kids and my husband are just easy. And, I will say that one of the biggest contributors to this sense of overwhelm is distraction and dissociation. So if you missed my previous episode where I spoke about overwhelm and distractions, go back and listen to that and also get yourself a copy of this guide. The link to purchase it is in the show notes. So today I want to talk a little bit about Mind, Body, Home with an emphasis on the body. So a bit of a personal story. Last week, I had my very first mammogram, and I don't even really know where to start with this because this whole concept for me is just so big and has had such an influence and an impact in my life in ways that I really didn't even understand until somewhat recently. So I'm 42 and I've been putting off getting my mammogram for the last 2 years. But I think it's important for you to also understand a little bit of my history. So my very first real job was at the age of 17. I was working in a hospital in Pittsburgh, doing work in the breast imaging center. And, the only reason I even got that job is because my mom worked there in one of the back offices, and they were looking for summer help to help with scheduling patients and greeting patients at the front desk and filing things in the file room back before everything was digitized. Um, and so they were looking for summer help, and it was just an easy job for me to sort of slide into because my mom worked there. And it was an amazing, amazing career step for a 17-year-old to have a full-time job with a normal pay, benefits. It was amazing for 17. But I worked there for several years and then went to there was a hospital-based X-ray program through the same hospital. So I joined that, eventually became a mammographer or a breast imaging tech, which I did for several years. So breast imaging, mammography, breast cancer, working with patients, all of that is very near and dear to my heart, and was for a very long time in my life. So, the second part of the story is that I also have breast implants. And you're probably thinking, out of anyone, with all that you know, why do you have implants? Like, don't you know any better, right? Um, but I did. And, there was a little bit of bullying in actually middle school, because I wasn't as developed as most of the girls in my grade. And I think that that was my first time thinking I'm going to get implants when I'm older, but I'll wait till I have kids, right? I wanted to breastfeed. And now that that has passed, after breastfeeding, my breasts were just like deflated balloons. So once I was done breastfeeding my daughter, I said, this is it. This is time for implants. There was no questioning it. I told myself since that young, tender 12, 13-year-old age that I was getting them and you weren't going to tell me any different. And that was that. So there's this obvious theme around breast that wasn't even really, like, I wasn't even really aware of, even up to this point. And I guess looking back, I could almost call it like some sort of an obsession or this like fascination. And it wasn't until after I got the implants and, I loved them for maybe a year or so that I found myself sort of disappointed that I even did it. Um, I wasn't necessarily regretting it, but there was like this underlying feeling of shame or guilt that I mutilated my body in some way. And so during the depths of my spiritual processing, I did a past life regression journey where it was revealed to me that I had died at one point from having breast cancer. And of course, this was during a time in history where there was no such thing as mammography, there was no cancer treatments, but my breasts, they were deformed, they were destroyed. And that very particular incident was imprinted on my soul's journey. If you've never experienced a past life journey or you've never even heard of it, it's really more about what could have happened in a previous life that is contributing to maybe some undesirable situations or circumstances in your current life and how those things have shaped who you are and what's sort of contributing to it still. The important thing to know is that for me, this past life journey, it sort of just opened my eyes to the obsession that was around all of this for me. But you can Google past life regression and learn more about it. There are a ton of resources. One of my favorites is Ansley McLeod. I believe his first book is called The Transformation. And then there's also Brian Weiss, who's written plenty of books on this topic. But essentially, our soul knows no time. Time doesn't exist in the spiritual realm. So if it experienced something traumatic in a past life, it may still be present in this one until we bring it to light, until we become aware of it, heal it. And there might be some karmic lessons around all of that, but again, that's really for another podcast. That specific regression session was the catalyst to me understanding, like, why did I always want to have these breast implants, right? Why was I so determined to get them? Why was I working in a breast imaging center at the age of 17 and then continued to pursue a career in breast imaging, right? Like, why was that so prevalent in my life? I got so freaking curious about that. There was just too many things adding up that I knew I needed to explore it a little bit further. So after I got them, like I said, they looked great. I loved them. They looked perfect. And that was the key word. I had this obsession with them looking perfect. But since getting them, I have been experiencing some things within my body that just don't feel right. And I can tie it back to the timing of getting the implants placed, that this is all sort of lining up. So, of course, you're seeing a lot more conversation about breast implant illness. People are having their implants removed because of it. And a lot of the symptoms, a lot of what they're saying really aligns with some of the things I'm experiencing as well. So, I've had my implants 10 years now. My plan is to have them removed. But how does this connect to my recent mammogram? Well, knowing what I know about our healthcare system, and I personally prefer to call it the sick care system, right? And I'm happy to see that that is getting thrown around a little bit more mainstream because we truly do have a sick care system here in the United States. What I know about that and what I believe about that, what I know about mind-body connection, knowing now what I knew about myself and through that past life regression, it was almost like I was putting off my mammogram because I felt like I had the power to heal myself on my own. And if I go looking for cancer, am I going to find it? Is this pattern going to repeat itself in this lifetime, even though it was so long ago? And, the answer was yes. It is repeating itself in a very different way. All of those things, the teenage trauma, the career, the implants, breastfeeding, now the breast implant illness, was trying to get my attention to heal so that I didn't need to experience it at that level again. And I think that there was still a part of me that was a little bit afraid to get my mammogram. And it wasn't really until recently that I finally admitted to myself that that was the reason I was putting it off. I was afraid. I was spiritually bypassing and abusing the law of attraction in a sense. Well, if I just don't give my attention to it, then I won't get cancer. And I think a lot of us do this very unconsciously, or maybe we do the opposite and allow the fear and the anxiety get the best of us. And then we end up creating undesired results as a way of, as a result of that thinking. And so I had to flip the script a little bit on myself and say, if I truly believe that I have the power to manifest a positive experience or result or outcome, then I need to prove that to myself. And so that's sort of what I did. So when I say we have a sick care system, I really do believe that our system here in the United States, the stacks are against us. And I want to preface this opinion of mine to say that I am not advocating for no mammograms. I want to be very clear about that. I am saying, however, that we do not do enough individually and as a society to ensure we are addressing mental and emotional health in our healthcare systems, and that people in generally, they give their power away to those they perceive to have the answers. We need to be accountable for our health and the outcomes that we receive as it relates to our healing. Yes, we are finding that, a lot of breast cancer is found on mammogram, but we're also telling women younger and younger to get screened more frequently. So yes, you're going to find more cancer. That's a very obvious thing, right? Does it save lives? Yes. However, our sick care system fails to address the mental emotional component and its impact on our physical bodies. That's where we come in and take control of our own health. And, I will tell you, in the breast imaging world, yes, technologists, radiologists, they are, for the most part, very empathic towards women and, who are getting their mammograms. And then if there's follow-ups, right, it's a lot. And I do think that they are empathic, but I also think that the system sets us up to fail by demanding and exploiting how often and how frequent, and if you don't, right, it's very fear-driven. The annual mammogram, additional imaging, getting called back, now having an ultrasound, now let's do an MRI, now let's do a biopsy. Putting women through this every year is such a fear-driven approach to the way we manage our health overall. And, I pushed against it for so long, and at times I get really worked up about this because it's not just in mammography. I mean, this is in any aspect of healthcare or screenings or any of it. But I do believe that Western medicine has its place here, but I believe it has a place in a balanced healthcare system. We are not there, right? We we have to take healthcare into our own hands. If we want true healing, we have to go deep within. And, you really can't trust the system because if you question the system, you will get pushback. Doctors will tell you this is just the way we do things. And so you need to go beyond research and data. And I believe that we can approach our health from a mind, body, home perspective. And that's really what I want to share with you today. So once I started questioning my hesitation around getting a mammogram, I looked at it through the lens of my own framework, mind, body, and home. I started questioning myself about, what did I think about my breasts now? What was the story that I was continuing to tell myself about implants or about even the past life stuff? There's, the ego and the mind still wants to create a story around it. But I needed to just sort of invite my own intuitive sense into the picture and let it guide me. And, why does our healthcare system, why doesn't it align with me? I think it's just because I know too much about the mind-body connection and how our thoughts and beliefs shape our physical and environmental circumstances. I mean, for me, that is hands down 1000%. There's no doubt in my mind. You cannot tell me differently that that's not true. I don't even need science and research to back that up. I know this deep within my core that that is true. So when I speak about living in a sick care system, what I mean is that corporate healthcare systems, insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, all they're doing is driving fear-based propaganda. You see it in billboards, you see it in the commercials. I mean, even my own kids who are, young, they notice these ads now, and even at their tender age, they can literally call it out for what it is. They'll say things like, who in their right mind is going to take that drug or that prescription after just hearing everything that could potentially go wrong with it, right? And the actors are just foolishly dancing around in colorful costumes and singing and dancing joyously as if this drug is going to make them feel better. No pill is going to make you feel better. No mammogram or any other test is going to seal your fate. No surgery is going to make you feel worthy unless you do the deeper work. I think that the system has set us up to fail, and we've got to just step into our own power about all of this. Do I think that doctors and other healthcare professions are creating this environment with malicious intent? I don't. But do I think we live in an unconscious culture and society? 100%. So how do we take our power back? So mentally and emotionally uncovering past wounds, traumas, any suppressed emotions, noticing behaviors and patterns, confronting our addictions and distractions, and learning about ourselves and what makes us dissociate from ourselves or from other people. We can evaluate our life through a holistic lens. We can take an honest look at what's going on in our bodies and in our homes with love and attention and make the choice to heal. This is where it all begins. So for me, my plan is to get the implants out. Until then, I'm sending my body and my breast and everything that went into the whole process love and forgiveness, because without the journey of getting these implants, I wouldn't have been able to really expose the deeper unconscious wisdom of the body. I always use the term reveal in order to heal. I ask Spirit all the time, reveal to me what needs to be healed. So by asking my body for forgiveness, for making it carry the weight of my mental and emotional distress, that's not the purpose of the body. The body, its purpose isn't to be a storage system for your mental and emotional trauma or your childhood wounds or your past life experiences. The body's purpose is to give us energy and vitality and breath and stamina in order to live here on this planet. So loving on my body and myself is really the best thing that I could have done. And so the day of my mammogram and even leading up to it, I was just doing some things that brought me joy, right? I was staying present with myself and my body. If I did feel anxiety creeping in, I would just tell myself, okay, that's the human side of me that is feeling anxious. My spiritual self knows that I am healthy and safe and whole. And so I would simply just invite, maybe just very gently in my own mind, I could be making dinner or I'd be brushing my teeth, and I could feel that anxiety pop up, and I would just reconnect with the wisdom of my body and allow it to be the one to guide me back to a state of calm and presence rather than allowing my mind and the ego drive up my anxiety. And even that morning, I packed my mala beads, which I always use whenever I'm in a situation where I might be anxious, like, a dental procedure or my mammogram appointment, or if I'm flying even, just repeating a safe affirmation while moving along my mala is just a great way to help bring myself back to the present moment and guide my mind back to what I know to be true and not allowing anxiety to take over. So while sitting in the waiting room, I had my mala and my book instead of scrolling anxiously on my phone. I talked about that in the last episode on overwhelm. I literally created sacred space all around me with the intention of having a good first mammogram experience. And it was funny as people were being called in and out being called um, in front of me, there was this one tech that when she came out, I just knew she was going to be my tech. She just had an energy about her that I immediately picked up on, and I manifested her as my tech. She was so great. She was so gentle. I was able to be completely calm for the whole experience. So I just felt that by staying in my truth, staying connected to my body, I believe I manifested the perfect outcome. I really do believe that. And my mammogram was painless. The process was quick and easy, and my results were negative. And let me just remind you, this was my first mammogram with implants and dense 40-year-old breast. I mean, the recall rate for a baseline mammogram with someone my age and breast implants, depending on the source you read from, your recall rate could be 15 to 30%. I mean, that's pretty high. But, I was okay if I got recalled. And if I felt myself getting anxious about maybe being recalled for more imaging or something showed up, or maybe now I'm going to need an ultrasound or an MRI, I just kept coming back to my body, to my spirit, and letting it guide me back to peace and calm and wholeness. So use that practice whenever you have any sort of medical procedure, anything that really sort of piques your anxiety, because that's just a symptom of the egoic mind. Coming back to your body, you begin working with the wisdom of your spirit. And this is known as somatics. Look, you want to talk about past lives and the reason why people are so fearful about going under anesthesia or having dental work, right? As human beings, we've experienced intense medical procedures from the beginning of time before there was anesthesia or Novocaine or anything to, soften the blow of such a traumatic experience. We have been through a lot of trauma. So it doesn't surprise me that we are amped up when when anything comes up that we need to tend to medically. And, when you have a sick care system on top of it, when you feel cheated and slighted and you feel victimized by the system, it just drives fear and anxiety way up. And, even though I'm getting my implants out, what's more frustrating is that it's going to cost me double the cost to get them out than it did putting them in. I mean, yeah, they're like I said, they're about 10 years old now, so I'm sure the cost of healthcare in general has risen, but it's going to cost me double. It's like the same with our food system, which is part of the same sick care system. Like, it's, triple the price to buy fresh, whole, organic foods when you can spend a couple bucks and go through the drive-through at McDonald's that's full of garbage and chemicals. So, I hope you're starting to see like what I mean by a sick care system, because they're all related. They're all part of the same system. So, this is coming back to that part of myself. This is coming back to your spiritual center, understanding at your core why you're here, why you experience the things that you do. So I did a few other things around the home leading up to my mammogram. I tended to some very specific areas that are known to be connected to the breast. So the feng shui bagua has a direct correlation to both Chinese medicine through the 5 elements and also to the body's chakra system. And this is an area of mind body home alignment that I deep dive on with clients as it relates to their very specific health concerns. But for the context of today, I'll just stick with the example of breast. So the breast, along with lungs, the heart, shoulders, upper back, ribs, the immune system, All of that is directly connected to the heart chakra, as well as the relationship gua in your home. So, you know, understanding a little bit about the heart chakra and what it governs, it's the love we feel for ourselves and for others. It's the center which drives our personal power, our security, our confidence, and trust, right? And trust, even more reasons why we should be taking our health into our own hands so that we personally feel confident about the decisions we make when it comes to our health and not putting that in the hands of others. When the heart chakra is out of balance, we might have a hard time connecting to ourselves and to other people. Or, maybe we'll feel insecure or victimized. There's usually like a really deep void in our connection to the spiritual self. And so, on the opposite side of that balance spectrum, you might find yourself enmeshed with other people's problems because you don't have your own personal center or you're avoiding your center in some way. So, you might focus on other people as a distraction. You might be a people pleaser and try to help them in a way that bypasses loving on yourself in that way. It's like we want to help everyone else but ourselves, right? And these imbalances eventually leave you feeling victimized, resentful, and energetically depleted, which all eventually leads to disease in the body. And so the relationship gua, or you've probably heard it more commonly referred to as the love corner, represents the relationship to yourself, your romantic partnerships, and also connects to mother energy, our relationship to our mothers and grandmothers, and even how we perceive ourselves as mothers. So asking yourself, what is the relationship to my mother or my children? And if you haven't had children, is there a deep void there that needs to be acknowledged? This doesn't mean you need to judge or shame yourself about not having children, but are you being honest with yourself about your decision? Or maybe you aren't able to have children. There could be so many reasons, some intentional reasons and some not so intentional, right? Either way, are you holding on to any grief or sadness because you weren't given a fair shot at having children? Or are you blaming or resenting someone else for your circumstances of not being able to have children? So being really honest with yourself and doing deep reflective work as to what could be causing some of these emotional detachments from yourself. Again, we're talking specifically about the breast because they are tied to the heart chakra and the love corner in the home. All chronic illnesses can be found as an imbalance in the body and in the home. So just quickly back to the love corner, which is in the far right corner of your home, the back right corner of your home. Leading up to my mammogram, I just gave it a quick look over. Is it clutter-free? Do I have a good balance of the elements there? Could I maybe enhance it a little bit with the earth element, which is all mother energy, right? It's all about nourishment. It's about support. It's about feeling grounded and stable and confident in yourself and your ability to heal. I could have enhanced it with maybe some color, maybe like green to help energize the heart chakra, or pink to represent love and the earth element. Overall, I really do believe that the positive outcome of my mammogram was based on three things. One, digging into my beliefs and feelings around my own breast and what I was truly afraid of, that I've made them such a priority and obsession in my life. And that included past life work, how it manifested in my previous career, my teenage trauma, which I was only hypersensitive to because of the past life trauma around my breast, right? And then being determined to ensure that my breast would look perfect. I was willing to do whatever it took for perfection. And after I breastfed my kids, there was no way I was going to let them look like that again, right? So even breastfeeding was an unconscious trigger that I didn't want my breasts to look bad. And so it took digging really deep into that emotional and mental trauma and patterns around this. And then second was connecting back to my body consistently, getting to know my body again, understanding what my body needs, what it wanted, what is its true purpose for me, asking it for forgiveness, nourishing it with healthy foods, being mindful of what I put in it or on it, and committing to getting the implants removed when the time is right, but also loving them as they are now and not holding on to any shame or guilt around putting them in to begin with. And the third thing I did was tend to the energy of my home by connecting heart to home through the wisdom of the chakra system and the home energy system known as the Feng Shui Bagua, and using both in tandem as a tool for healing and sacred practice. So again, so much of this work is deeply personal and it varies from person to person. This was my personal experience, and one that has been very prevalent for a long time and just in recent years has really come to light. So I want you to know that if this is resonating, I encourage you to look at the Mind Body Home Alignment Program so that you can explore this deeper and be supported in doing so, because this work is deep. It is deep healing work, and we can soften it by doing it alongside someone who understands what you might be going through and has the resources to guide you through it with love and compassion. Working with clients in this way is so encouraging to me because, I'm witnessing healing happen, and it's so incredibly powerful. I knew how powerful it was for me, and now to witness it in others, it's just an incredible honor that I'm able to share and guide people through this. So I'd love to support your journey. The link to the Mind Body Home Alignment Program is in today's show notes, along with the Work Life Home Guide to Balance. I encourage you to check both of those out at the links in the show notes. You can always find information on my website, jadescottdesign.com. My friends, until next time, I am sending you so much love and gratitude.